Abu al-Misk Kafur, also called al-Laythi, al-Sari, al-Labi, was a dominant personality of Ikhshidid Egypt and Syria. Originally a black slave from Ethiopia, he was promoted as vizier of Egypt, becoming its de facto ruler from 946. After the death of his master, Muhammad bin Tuf, Kafur succeeded the latter to become the de jure ruler of the Ikhshidid domains, Egypt and southern Syria, until his death in 968. Biography. Muhammad bin Tuf, the founder of the Ikhshidid dynasty of Egypt, bought Abu al-Misk Kafur as a slave from Ethiopia in 923. He is recorded as having a dark complexion and being a eunuch. Recognizing the slave's intelligence and talent, Ibn Tuf freed him. The story goes that Kafur was freed because he kept his eyes fastened upon his master, while others kept their eyes on the master's gifts. Thus, historian Philip Hitti notes, Kafur would be generously rewarded for such loyalty. Ibn Tuf appointed Kafur to be the supervisor of princely education for his two sons. The Egyptian ruler then promoted Kafur as a military officer. As a field commander, Kafur conducted a military mission to Syria in 945. He was put in charge of some campaigns in the Hejaz. Kafur was involved in some diplomatic exchanges between the Ikhshidid and the Caliph of Baghdad. Kafur became the de facto ruler of Egypt in 946. He died in Cairo and was probably buried in Jerusalem, though subsequent historians have portrayed him as a just and moderate ruler. He owes a great deal of his fame to the scathing satirical poems directed against him by al-Mutanabi, the most famous Arab poet. Status as former slave. Kafur's status as former slave did not hinder him from rising to power under the Ikhshidids. In fact, his status helped him, as it had become customary for former slaves to enter the military organization and even reach high positions in it. Kafur's rise to power, from being an African slave to the ruler of Egypt and parts of Syria, is one of the first examples in Islamic history of a sovereign with the lowliest of origins. In Muslim states in general, Africans such as Kafur did not continue to be slaves. They were employed in various occupations and maintained a cohesive culture interacting with that of their hosts. Policies. Domestic politics. While Kafur held de facto control over Egypt, he operated behind the facade of Ikhshidid rulers. On his deathbed, Ibn Tuf had appointed Kafur as guardian over his two sons. In 946, Kafur helped Tanujah secure the succession to Ibn Tuf, and in 961, he helped Ali ibn al-Ikhshid, Tanujah's younger brother, secure the Egyptian throne. Only in 966, following the death of Ali, did Kafur publicly declare himself as the sole master of Egypt. Kafur, despite tremendous pressure on him, maintained stability inside Egypt. From 947 to 948, he fought and put down the rebellion by Galban. In 954 he successfully averted an abortive coup d'état by Tanujah. He also survived the spread of subversive Ismaili propaganda against him. His ability to resolve internal political complications is considered as having significantly prolonged the lifespan of the Ikhshidids. Foreign politics. One of Abu al-Misk Kafur's greatest achievements is his successful protection of the Ikhshidid establishment from the Hamdanids, Fatimids, Qarmatians, and the Nubians. Very early on, Kafur's master, Muhammad ibn Tuf, trusted him to handle the military campaigns of Syria and Hejaz. His military and diplomatic measures secured Damascus for the Ikhshidids in 947. Saif ad-Dawla, governor of Aleppo, had tried to overrun Syria, but his efforts were frustrated by Kafur, and the former recognized the latter's lordship over parts of Syria. He was also able to delay the Fatimid expansion into Egypt, frustrating the efforts of the latter's agents. So long as Kafur was alive, the Ikhshidid establishment kept the Fatimids at bay. Upon his death, the Fatimids took over. Economy. Kafur generally maintained economic stability in Egypt, despite serious setbacks. A fire devastated the business section of Fustat in 954. A major earthquake rocked Egypt in 955. Recurrence of food price inflation, and consequent civil disturbances, in 949, 952, 955, and 963–968. Accepting the heavy government expenditure, Kafur's administration refrained from extortionate fiscal practices. His gold coinage displayed remarkable stability, though it did fluctuate. Kafur also enrolled the services of competent administrators and merchants, contributing to his economic accomplishments. Patronage of the arts. Abu al-Misk Kafur gained popularity by being the patron of scholars and writers. Perhaps the most celebrated patronage is that of the great poet al-Mutanabi. In return, al-Mutanabi praised the former slave. However, after Kafur's failure to reward him with high office that he aspired, al-Mutanabi ridiculed Kafur. Thus Kafur was immortalized in the poetry of al-Mutanabi, the greatest poet of Kafur's time, according to historian Hitti. As he was a pious man, Kafur was more comfortable with the ulama than the poets. He surrounded himself with religious men, some of whom he showered with gifts. He constructed 2 mosques and a hospital. Nevertheless, he still clung to superstitions, abandoning a home once, believing it to be under a jinn. Kafur also maintained a magnificent and luxurious court. This, however, at times of famine, accorded poorly with the general population. In addition to the mosques and the hospital, Kafur had constructed a number of sumptuous palaces, and the Kafur gardens in his capital. No archaeological remains of his contributions have been thus far found.